This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about fishing, continuing with the first week of 2024. Got a good one today. A true veteran of the industry and a good friend, too. I've known this guy for a very long time. I probably spent more time watching this guy fish than just about any other angler out there, and that is the one and only Dean Rojas from Lake Havasu. Is it Lake Havasu or Lake Havasu City?
Lake Havasu City, and Happy New Year to you, Matt. It's always good to see you.
What did you guys do for the New Year, Dino?
We went up to Prescott, Arizona, which is about 3 hours from here, and the elevation's about 6,000 feet. So it was a little too darn cold for me. You know, I like living in the desert where it's nice and warm, but it was like 30 degrees in the morning and stuff. And that New Year's Eve night was like 30. So we spent a lot of time in the adult beverage bar there. They have a Whiskey Row, which is really synonymous with Prescott and the old cowboys back in the 1800s. So pretty cool history back there.
Yeah. I was talking, who was I on? I think I was on a Bass and Brews podcast, and things get a little sketchy on that podcast. And they were asking about some of the crazy stuff. And I told them the story of how I came into possession of the only, is it the ghost green wigglewort color that is synonymous with the Ozark region? We were down at that one tournament, and you had some sponsors in that you were entertaining, and you guys weren't drunk or anything, but you'd had a few, but you would run out of Jack. You remember this story?
No, I don't. But revise me. Anytime you talk about wiggleworts, it piques my interest because
you don't remember this, dude. So
go ahead, roll with it.
So you said, okay, the honest version is you said, Matt, go get us some more Coke, because you had run out of Coke. That's what it was, a 12-pack of Coke for Jack and Cokes. And I was like, dude, I'm here to work too. I'm not just your errand boy, Deed.
Oh,
I was like,
that's right.
I got to get something out of this situation here. And you're like, oh, come on. We need a bag of ice and we need some Coke. And
that's right. Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. I will go. And it was late at night too, and we were in the middle of nowhere. And I said, I will go get you a 12-pack of Coke and a bag of ice, but I get to pick out a wigglewort.
You know where that was at? It was at Toledo Bend. Well, I think it was the night that I won, and things were getting, I think, really fun there. And we were staying at way out in the sticks, and there was one store there. Remember at Joe's? There was that Shell station, and they had all the stuff there. And I told you, yes, I would give you one of my. I don't think it was even that.
You didn't specify
color. No, but it was like the ones that I have custom painted with a
right. No, you gave me the custom painted ones after. Yeah, but you gave me three of those after the Grand Classic. You gave me one of the blue ones, one of the red ones, and one of the orange ones.
Correct.
But this was a different one because you didn't specify which, because I still have those three. Didn't you have those painted in Japan?
Yeah.
You still have
see if
them?
I can find. Yeah. Well, I have. They're on my tour deal here. Oh, here we go. So like, that's my wigglewort box. You can see.
Okay.
So I believe you have that one right there.
Yeah, that one's crazy cool.
Yeah, these were painted in Japan. That's one of them there. And then that's the one with the purple side or blue side.
Blue side. Then you had like a peanut butter color.
I have a purple one, as you can see.
Yeah, go a little bit the other way. There you go. Then put your hand behind it. Put your hand behind the bait like that, and then the other hand. Put your other hand behind the bait, and then it'll pop. There you go. Yeah, that's the color.
So these are the original suspend ones on this deal. And so a little story behind this deal. Let me show you the other one too, because I got that one here as well. And
which one were you throwing in the? Was it the Cliff Pace Classic?
Yes.
Which one were you throwing in the Cliff Pace Classic?
I was throwing this one in the I think I had them all three tied on, Matt.
Okay.
So there was that color, but I think it was the purple one that I had. That one right there. You can see that real good.
Mm-hmm.
So it was so cool because my marshal at the time there at the Classic, he saw it laying on the deck, and he goes, "What in the hell is that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "That tied onto your rod. That Wigglewort. I am a Wigglewort fanatic, and I have never seen that color before in all my life. Where did you get that one?" And I said, "Well, that's, they're custom painted." And so I told him the whole story, and he's just like, "My gosh." So then that was before the day started. So I get out there and I get on my stuff, and 3.5, 4, 2 pounder, 2.5, next thing you know, I'm crushing him on it. And he's just like, he goes, "I can't." And the whole time he's just, "That thing is so awesome. That thing is so awesome." So what happens is they get scratched up, as you know, which makes it even better. I think the dullness is even better when those colors start to just kind of mend all together. And so at the end of the day, before we get off, I had a great day. I caught like 18 pounds on it. So I handed it to him, and I go, "Here you go, buddy. Appreciate it." And he just about lost it, man. He goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm there. Oh Jesus. Dude, this is such a big deal, man. Thank you so much. I am such a Wigglewort freak. I've got all these colors and all these numbers. And look, I understand the Wiggleworts and stuff and the numbers that you guys use for color, scenarios and stuff. But I'm not that big into it. But I just know they work really good in the Ozark Lakes, just all that Bull Shoals, Table Rock, all that stuff. Grand, that Arkansas, Missouri, East Oklahoma type thing. So it's all good. It's all good. I do have, let me tell you the story about that behind that, because it's really cool. So Ish and I, Monroe, when we're fishing the elites, we travel a lot together, and because we're from the West Coast, so we're always going back and forth together and stuff. And, we used to throw the Wiggleworts up the Delta. And
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he knows all about it. And we got to talking about it, and he's like, "Hey, Dean," he says, "there's a tackle store up here that went out of business, and they've got like boxes and boxes of Wiggleworts." He said, "I already bought 400 of them, but there's 200 left. Do you want them?" And I go, "Yeah, I want them. Yeah, 200, heck yeah." So he goes, "Okay, it's the regular color." I think it was, you might have one in here. They weren't anything special, but they were the suspending model. And so I ended up buying them. He says they're $2 a piece. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
In the original box, and I have the original box. You want to see it? Hold
on, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a 6-pack of a 6-pack, if I remember back in the day. The Wigglewort seemed to go through a deal where it was like super hot online. I want to say 5 to 8 years ago. I mean, I was part of all the Facebook groups and Wigglewort, but then as soon as the forward-facing sonar came out, there's been a little bit of a they've kind of gone back underground. Yeah, so those are all. That's the original box with original 6-packs inside.
Hey.
Are those the Minnetonka ones or the Norman, Oklahoma ones?
I'll tell you. We'll pull them out of the box and show them to you.
Don't ruin any of those. Oh my gosh. So that's like if you were a tackle store owner 20 years ago and you ordered Wiggleworts, that's how they'd come.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then you can see them in the box there.
I think those are the Minnetonkas. Does it say on the back? It should say Minnesota or either.
It says it's assembled in Mexico.
Yep.
Norman, Oklahoma.
Oh, it is the Norman, Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, Storm Manufacturing Companies, Norman, Oklahoma, and assembled in Mexico. But those are the ones, and like
That's phenomenal.
There's, you got to understand. So this is what all I have left of the ones that are in the original boxes and stuff. So, And so there's probably, 6, 12, there's 24 of them here. So the only problem with not having it painted in Japan, it cost me 2 boxes. Okay. I had to give it to the guy because he wanted them. So, and over the course of that, and then losing them or breaking them, I have, I don't know, I probably got about 15 here, and then I've got about 30 or 35 in my tour boat and stuff. So
how did you end up getting them painted in Japan?
So when I used to live in Texas, Yusuke Miyazaki rented a trailer from me on my property. And so he would always bring over these Japanese guys. They'd always come in, they'd stay for a couple weeks, and I get to know all these guys. Well, a lot of them were like, one was a painter, and one worked for Dio, and one worked for this, and one for that. I mean, he'd always bring somebody in. They'd always come over, and I'd cook steaks for them, because we're on the property, and they all fishermen, it's cool, and they wanted to meet me and everything. So it was just awesome, to have that. And so Yusuke's like, hey, Dean, you get these painted in Japan. And I asked the guy, because he didn't speak really good English. I said, can you paint these? And so he said, yeah. He goes, what do you want? Yusuke's, telling me what he's saying. I told him that I wanted a purple, a blue, and a red on that particular bait itself. So you can see that the bait itself is kind of like, it's already has a crawfish pattern on it. Yep. And it already had the lips already got the paint on it. So I just said, just dress them up and make them look nice. And man, when I got that first bat, then I got them, I'm like, oh boy, heck yeah. And then, and it's just cool, and that's the whole thing is like throwing something that somebody isn't. And, in different colors and so forth. And I love throwing a wiggle wart. It's so much fun. And I know Spro makes a rock crawler, which is awesome too. It dives deeper. And I almost say it almost takes the place of a wiggle wart, but I'm like old school. Okay. So like when you throw in a wiggle wart, it just feels, good. And it feels good with the rock crawler too, but they both catch them. They're both great baits. And I think the rock crawler is more of an updated version, much like, when we came out.
Much more user friendly too.
Yes. It's a little bit heavier. It casts a little better. It doesn't, helicopter on you, but when you're throwing the wiggle wart, it don't matter, man. You're throwing your wart, man. It's good. It's good stuff.
That's like a one derby every couple years if you're lucky, where that is like actually, but maybe it's like one every 3 to 5 years. When you say, it's not something that you're going to throw every tournament, it's very situational.
Yeah, it's a specialty deal, and it's deals where I always carry in my truck because you never know, and there could be that rock bank that you're just like, gosh, I need a wiggle wart right now. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you need it, and I carry it just in case, and every now and again I'll pull it out. But you're right. It's more of a situation of we're going to one of those lakes that time of year. And it was always key because every time we had our classics in Oklahoma there and at Grand, it was a key player. It's just, I remember the day that when Edwin won that one with 22 pounds, 24 pounds, there was a front coming in. I had like 19 pounds on the wiggle wart. They were just crushing it. It was just so much fun. And it was on the final day of the classic. So, it's one of those things where I had like second, third big bag of the day on that one, but just so much fun. And I miss throwing it because we never get to go anywhere like that. It's so anymore, it seems like. And especially with like the forward facing sonar stuff, it's like, our tackles, I look at my stuff now and I'm just like, God, we never throw that stuff anymore. We're never in that situation. It's either, this or that. You can have 5 or 6 baits and be good for the whole year. I've got lots of handboard stuff, all my crankbaits and, the big bite stuff. It just, like the fighting frog. I still throw it, but it wasn't like it was a staple, when back 10 years ago. So it still works. It's still good stuff. It still goes with me on the tour. So.
But that's just because of times have changed and guys are fishing differently.
Yeah, they are, and that's for sure. So it's part, like I said, it all depends on the lake and what the lake's calling for, and when you go to reservoirs that have a lot of standing timber and they have spotted bass and that are smallmouth that are roaming around the middle of the lake, that's heck yeah, that's going to be the deal doing that stuff. So it's there's still it's changing, it's evolving, and it's be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 years from now.
I would venture to say that you're probably one of the most underrated crankbait fishermen on tour, because I mean, you not only talk about the wiggle wart, you've got some other cold water baits. I think Spro just come out with a bait that you kind of helped design. It's an early season, real tight wobble to it that you've been throwing for a bunch of years. I know that Little John DD has always been a staple in your arsenal. Weren't you cranking in the opening rounds in 19 on Smith when you won your BPT event?
Yeah, that was on a square bill. I was coming out on a swim jig. Even caught a couple on my frog on that final day that sealed it for me. And so like I've been doing this so long. I know what I need to do at certain times and how to catch them when they're grouped up or what they're feeding on a certain way. So the bait you're referring to on the Spro side is my Speed Demon, okay?
Yep.
Which is a really good bait for cold water applications. Got a nice tight wiggle to it. Obviously got great, Gamakatsu hooks on it, and nice computer chip bill, all the great features that you want, in a bait like that. So we're going to be coming out with some new colors next year. So the ones we got now are more of a staple. The crystal crawl color is always a great color. Blue chartreuse. The shad colors. So basically, yeah, you go. Basically, just coming up with something that works really good in the springtime. You can either go the shad pattern or the crawdad colors. There's the crystal call right there. So a lot of it too is matched up. So I'm gonna use some of my wiggle wart colors on them as well. Those things will be coming here shortly. We may even have them before ICAST. So a lot of stuff going on with Spro right now. A lot of new product, new stuff, and they're really on the move right now. And it just it shows all the stuff that they're making and designing and so forth. So we do have another frog in the hopper too. We're working on that right now currently. But what's cool is like my son Austin. So he's been heavily involved with color design, so forth, with Spro.
Since he was like 12, right?
Yeah, I know. But it really took off. His deal, his big one is the Diamondback.
Yep.
Okay. So that was the color that we came up with, and he drew it out and everything. I had to finish it up for him, but right now, that's like the third best selling frog that we have on the market right now.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's so cool. So then he's got tunnel rat. He's got carp. He's got
what's
carmine.
tunnel rat? I haven't seen tunnel rat.
You see that?
Can you take that one out?
Yeah.
Is that a new one for this year?
Yeah, they had it introduced to the ICAST.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks very, very ratty. Mousy, ratty.
Mm-hmm. So
like kind of
these are like holes. Yeah, it's gray with black.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
Mm-hmm.
Did he do the orca?
No, I did that.
Oh, okay.
I did that. That was the killer. It's not, but it's based off of an orca.
Okay, it's same thing.
I know, but it was based off of that because it's all about crushing topwater, and freaking killer whales crush little seals on topwater. It's the awesomest thing ever to watch that. So we're just trying to emulate that. So we have harbor seal, obviously, and the killer. We designed those that came out at the same time with those as well. So, but fun stuff, and like they got some wild colors too. So I can't like this one here. The name changed.
Oh my gosh!
I can't tell you on live because it's not like it's pretty.
Is this the first look at that color?
Mm-hmm.
No, has anyone else seen this color, or is this the first look at this color of frog?
First look. This one's Austin's. I think it's chameleon.
That's cool.
So if you'll notice in the Spro lineup, we have a lot of bright frogs, okay? And a lot of this stuff we sell overseas and in different markets, and they crush them on the snakeheads with this.
Yeah.
So that the snakeheads love the bright colors like that, and they even have them in like King Daddy colors. I don't know if I have any here, but anything bright, super bright.
Mm-hmm.
That's it right there. So that one just came out, as you can see.
That looks like a walleye crankbait color.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this on iTunes, it's a bright chartreuse, like a bobber color chartreuse. Like, you remember those styrofoam chartreuse floats, and then it's got, what color is that? An orange head. green stripes on the back, an orange butt, and then orange and chartreuse legs.
There you go.
All built around the gammy.
Yes. That's the foundation right there. It's the full-out Gamakatsu Superline frog and hook.
Hey, you're grabbing stuff back there. I had one more crankbait question that I wanted to ask you, because we are getting to that time of the year. And believe it or not, fish will still eat a crankbait.
They crush it. They crush it.
Okay. So the difference, so when are you throwing the Speed Demon 55 and when are you throwing a rock crawler? Because you throw them during the same time of the year, but to me, it seems like totally counterproductive. One is and down there, and the other is and shallower. But I mean, is that a fair question?
Absolutely, because so many tournaments that we fish early in the spring, in the backs of the pockets, a lot of times there'll be bait back there, and there, you need something that's going to dive, anywhere from 3 to 5 feet in that depth range. And when and I've seen it so many times, it doesn't matter what part of the country I go to, it seems like there's always some kind of bait fish that's, because the water's down, usually a lot of times in the backs of the pockets, and it can be secondary pockets all the way in the back, just little things. But anyways, stuff that where the rock crawler just is too much for it. Okay, you need something where the fish are feeding on bait fish. So that's where the Speed Demon comes in.
Okay.
And then even if you have like a do nothing bank, you'll have some sporadic rock here and there. And watercolor has a lot to do with what the color I would throw for that. So time of year, if the lake has a lot of rock in it, I'll be more to go to a crawdad pattern. If it's more of a shallow lake, if it's, the ones that are silted in, they're old lakes, then I would go to the shad pattern on that for the Speed Demon. Yeah, exactly right there. And then the blue and chartreuse is a great color. It's one of my favorites. I use that one all the time. And but for that, and then on top of that, a Spro Ruku shad, Matt, mm-hmm. It's dynamite. And I've really, like, in the last 3 years, especially here at home, I've really learned a lot about that bait. And I've always thrown it, but I've never really thrown it like I do now. And it's, I guess maybe it's one of those things where there's so many other things going, and you pick it up and you start learning more about it. So now I know why Kevin Van Dam always won those classics every time on the red eye shad.
Early in the year he's burning it. No one else is doing that.
I know, and I'm like, how in the heck? And then I started doing it 2.5 years ago here, burning the dang thing, and the water temperature's in the 50s, low 50s, and man, and you just burn it real hard, and you kill it, hop it, let it flutter down. I mean, all the different things now, and they freaking crush it. I mean, when you think you need to go slow, it's the complete opposite. And it always fascinated me whenever I watched, Kevin fish, on how fast he was burning that dang thing and how the fish would react to it. And now I understand it. Now I got it. So now it's like, I feel like I've added something more to my arsenal now, and another thing that I could use, and especially this past fall during the team series, which you guys will see this spring. You can see a lot of Ruku shad action on my part. It was a fun event, doing a lot of different things. So it's cool.
It's interesting, and like, not to bring it back to forward facing, but to be able to see how the fish react to baits. And however, the last couple of years we found out, it'll be a 38-degree water and you'll have a fish. I mean, it's not like he's floating slowly up to it in the subtypes, but like, I mean, you're thinking these suckers are dang near popsicles down there, and they're like, shoo, boom, boom. And I mean, you're like, holy cow, they're so much more active and so much more predatory than I think 99% of people ever gave them credit for, and what we read in Bassmaster and what we read in FLW for decades and decades about, once it hits that 50 degrees and how they go to wintering holes and how they sit on the bottom and how you have to crawl a jig. Like, dude, just over the last 5 years, it's amazing how little credit we gave fish in cold water when it came to eating.
I know. And that's what I was brought up reading. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all this stuff where you could watch YouTube videos. I read all my stuff from illustrations from Bernie Schultz on Bassmaster magazine, or Outdoor Life or Field and Stream, or, I just go bassing. I mean, you can go on and on about all of the magazines. I mean, but that was the only material we had back then. And it, like, echo what you said, basically that's what happens. They just shut down. And I think that the knowledge of the angler back then is I mean, we are decades ahead of that. I mean, light years ahead of that way of thinking. And a lot of it has to do with the sonar, the side imaging, the down, all the down, all that stuff that we have now in the forward facing, where you could actually watch them and how they react and where they're located and how they're, just being able to see that, and then to watch your bait actually come through the water column. And it doesn't matter. It's not like, you're casting into a pool where it's nice and clear. I mean, it could be muddy water. You can still see your bait clear as day on the screen. And like you mentioned, man, when they're ready to eat, I mean, they're charging, they're coming, So, and it's just one of those things where, it really opens your mind up. And when you think that you got a pretty good handle on it, it's just like, dang it, man. That's another thing I got to think about. It's another thing, and then you're constantly on the water. For me, I'm constantly evaluating the situation I'm in. Always thinking about where I'm at. Always thinking I need to move. Quick, and trying to break it down as quickly as I can, and to get on them as quickly as I can. Because of the every fish counts now. So basically, we're back to that again, and which is fine. I don't mind doing that because I won doing that. It's not a big thing for me. But it's the training of just getting ready for that next 7.5 hours of just go. And so I like it. It keeps me sharp. And lately I've been fishing like 3 days a week, 3-4 days a week. So I'm in great fishing shape right now. I feel really good, and anxious to get the season started.
You mentioned that how not a lot of guys picked up on that, and even go back to October of 2011 when Elias was cranking the Alabama rig next to the bridge pilings, and then how that Alabama rig was in the winter where you had guys on 60-pound tests just winding the thing in, and how they were catching them in shallow, and then the KVD with the red eye shads and the lipless. Like, the fish were telling everyone, hey, you don't have to be crawling a jig or a tube or a drop shot or anything like this in the winter. Like, we'll eat stuff that's moving.
Yep.
But I mean, you'd hear, but I mean, I'd be out with Mike McClellan, and he'd be like, dude, this is the greatest example. I want your thoughts on this. So Grand Lake, right? Like, I fished out there with McClellan. I've covered the Van Dam. I remember Van Dam on the Grand Classic, which we're coming up on the next Grand Classic here in a couple of months. But he'd be like, dude, I can't do that sitting still thing. Like, they're going to eat it. And he's moving the bait. It's super. But then you get out there with Mike, and he's like, man, you're going to get it down there. And then you're just going to give it a little pop. Then you're just going to let it just kind of mosey on down there and sit. He'd put the 4, the bronze on the front with an extra split ring, so that thing would just, and then he can let that thing sit there for a minute, and then Kevin can't let it sit there for 2 seconds. It's crazy how it's just drastically different as far as movement.
Yeah, that's the personalities of every angler on tour. Nobody is the same. Everybody has their own way and their own technique of how they got there and the success they've had in the past. So that's a great analogy, Matt, because you have, Kevin fastest, and then you have Mike that, who's a more attentive fisherman, meaning, slower and working the cover and doing all that. And look, they're both great. They're both great anglers, and they've had big wins, and, and so everybody has their own little niche. And if you go down the list, on all the tours, it don't matter what it is. I mean, you could always pinpoint that particular guy, what he likes to do and what he's good at. So, and the cool thing about Score Tracker on the MLF side, when somebody's catching them, their style. Okay. So that's probably what they're catching them on. It's a high probability of that, so it helps you break it down even faster on that. And so for me, it's just a lot of information. And like I said, I'm always evaluating. I love having Score Tracker on. So for me, I want to know what everybody's doing. I want to know every catch. I want to know everything, what's going on, because there's guys in and around you, that you see. You're not fishing next to them, but you see where, when they drive by or whatever, so you kind of get a sense of, the basically the adjustments that I need to make, to get where I'm at, or if I'm good, and you just get on the pattern and just go. And so I like to know, because there are certain times of the day when they're biting, and you'll see that when the Score Tracker lights up. And for a lot of guys, it's hard. It's hard to listen to that, because when you're not catching anything, I've been on the receiving end of that as well. and they're just crushing them. I mean, it hurts, man. It's like, man, what am I doing wrong? And how do I make the adjustments, and what do I need to do? And so, but I always use it as a tool. I want to know what's going on the lake. I don't want to be blind to it. Back in the day, you would just catch your 18 pounds or whatever and just go, we'll just see what happens at the weigh-in. So this is more up to date. It's faster pace. It keeps me thinking all the time, reacting and changing with the fish, and that's what I think is really key for the way I like to fish. And just always trying to stay on them.
All right, you mentioned the bite windows, and it is a lot more apparent in the Every Fish Counts format when you're seeing everything move. I mean, it's in Bassmaster too, where they're going, he's hooked up. But the MLF. So, okay, you've been doing this a long time, Dean. The bite windows. Let me see if let me pose this question correctly. Is it fishery dependent, or is it solar, lunar stuff? Is it current driven? Is it light penetration driven? What, in your opinion, creates bite windows across the lake? It's not just, there's a difference between a guy stumbling on a group of schooling fish and catching them every cast. But when you see guys in one entire section or one end to the other, just lighten the thing up, in your opinion, break that down for me on what is causing those fish to ignore it 1 second and snap the next.
So
I know that's an impossible question.
It's a big question, because you got to look at time of year. Okay. So so we'll just say like right now, wintertime. Okay.
Yep.
It's cold right now. So they're going to bite first thing in the morning, because the water temperature is not going to change much. It's been cold all night. So it's probably in, 50, whatever. So a lot of times those big ones, they eat at night. And so your best crack at them is probably the first hour of daylight to catch them when it's cold like that. And I know it's freezing, your hands are cold from the run and everything like that, but dude, that's when they bite. Okay. And then at that point, then usually around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's a slow drag. Okay. Unless you have current. If you're fishing in a river, they're all going to be current based. Okay. And so they're easily positioned, but if they're not, you're just in a lake, how the lake gets flat about 9, 10 o'clock, there's no wind, bright skies, and then again, the weather's everything. If it could be cloudy, it could be stormy. If they're stormy, they're going to bite all day during the wintertime. But if it's flat, calm, high pressure, it's going to be a morning deal, and then they're going to bite about 11 o'clock, 11 to 12, especially if the moon's getting ready to come in or is going back out. Okay, so that is always the deal. I remember I would always want to be on my best stretch, my best area, first thing in the morning, and then at high noon. Okay, I've caught more big fish in between like 11:45 and like 12:30 in that window, and always on a full moon, or when it's coming. It's better on the incoming full moon than it is on the outgoing. The waning of the moon. So, and I always keyed on that. I talk to Austin all the time. I said, make sure we have a full moon, and make sure you're on your best spot between 11:30 and 12 at high noon, because that's when them big ones bite. It's a 6 hour swing for them, and I don't ask me why. It just happens, and I've learned over the years to try and be in that area, or that spot, or that stretch, or that part of the lake during that time of the year. Now, if you're summertime, same thing. First hour, man, you got to catch them quick. Same type of deal, and then they're probably going to bite in the afternoon. The wind picks up. Boat traffic has a lot to do with it. The water temperature, current, all that stuff. So the windows are different on every lake. And I think a lot of it has to do with the weather. Has a big thing to do with that, because if it's cloudy, I remember, like I told you about the classic there in Tulsa. I mean, it was, 20 degrees when we launched that morning, but they bit all day long until it was in the 50s when we finished up there. But that just happens. And you got to be on them. You got to be around them. You got to be in the right area when all that happens. And that way, that's when magic happens. And that's when you freaking hammer them. That's what you want. That's what we do this for.
We're gonna take our first break of the show. Let's wrap up the bait section, though. I did see a couple others in the background. Have you messed with the Glide at all yet?
Yes, I have.
What are your thoughts on that? I've never even kind of talked to you about your opinion on glides. You're not really known as a swim bait guy, but what are your thoughts on the Spro KGB Chad Shad Glide?
Love it. It's great. It's another technique that I'm learning in the process of that. But it's all situational, basically on that end. So, if you're fishing for 5, that's probably, a good way to go. If you are in every fish format, it would be spot specific. You run up to a point or a dock, or an outcropping or whatever it might be, and that's a 5 or 10 minute deal. And then if you get there, and then you can move on from there. But you're always testing the waters with that thing, especially in that format. But if it's become very popular. But I grew up with swim baits. I mean, ever since I was, 20 years old, when Alan Cole had the AC plug, the big jointed plug that they threw at Castaic, and caught all those 18 pounders and 17 pounders on that big imitation swim bait. And you got Huddleston's, you got Castaic, and it's just an evolution of all of that. This, the glide bait is something that is, I think, is what's cool about it is because it's visual. You can see it. You can give the action that you want, and it's more of a clear water, kind of stained water type thing, depending on where you're at on that. So, look, it catches big fish. There's no doubt about it. So, it's obviously another tool in the arsenal that we need on the tour.
If you had to pick a group that was more fanatical, are you going to pick the swim bait guys, or are you going to pick the frog guys?
I would probably say the Wiggle War guys. That's a whole different bunch there. Don't get me wrong. It's in a good way too, but look, what's so cool about that is that word fanatical. All right. They have a deep passion and they love it. And, seeing those swim baits being made in garages, in Southern Cal and, all on the West Coast, a good friend of mine, Billy Skinner, down south in Yuma, he builds some amazing stuff and stuff you would never see. And it's their mind. It's the way they work and their attention to detail. And that's where it starts. I mean, you have Japan. We have a lot of Japanese that come over here as well, a lot of the companies and so forth. So they're integrated with that as well. So you have the Japanese genre, and then you have the American, homemade stuff, and you combine them, and then you create, baits like this, or better. I mean, there's so many different things on the market right now, and I've seen so much of it, and yeah, it works. It's great. But fanatical, I think we all are. And I think I wouldn't even want to put one over the other because they're all the same. They're just passionate about what they do. And that's awesome. I like that.
Show that OG frog with the skirts that are all melted off. That's 23 years old before we go to break.
So that right there, guys, the legs have come off, but that is the original bronze-eye frog. This was the first prototype that I got 24 years ago. I mean, that's right after the classic there at Wiley. And but that was the first. You can see how big the top here. It's unproportioned and everything, but the skirts are all melted because it's 24. You can see them in the plastic there.
Yeah,
they're all gummed up and everything. So
quarter century old frog skirts right there.
That's right. So I don't know what chemical imbalance is going on right there, but it's a mess.
Yeah. Whoa, you there?
It's all good.
Did I lose you? I got you back. Nope, I got you back. Yep. You guys go to Santee this year, right?
Yes.
Isn't that where you learned how to throw that thing? The sumo frog?
No.
No?
No. I learned here on Lake Havasu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have the sumo frog anymore, but that classic going to the final day when I was leading it, Takahiro was right behind me, and I got a call from Sumo Frogs that night. They offered me a contract if I won on the frog, and I turned them down because the frog was really good at that time, but I knew the changes that I wanted to make, and I knew what I wanted, and I knew it could be way better than what it is. And so shortly after that, I had a meeting with Spro and sat down, and they said, Dean, just build it. I don't care how long it takes, and go ahead. We use all the resources we have, and I built it. I designed it, and I have the actual drawings too somewhere around here.
But, I think I've seen those before. They're really cool.
Yeah, it's just the way that was the first mock-up of it, what I want it to look like, and and then that's the first prototype that I got, and it was that one, and then I have a junior frog as well, so you can see the two different sizes here. So we're going to make a junior and the 65 bronze eye. So
those are the original first two.
Yes. And then I have the poppin' frogs as well, because when we did all this, we made a poppin' version and the bronzeye. So those were the two that we came out with. Well, the bronzeye sold so well, we sold so many of them, that we put the popper on the shelf because they couldn't keep up with production. And so we waited another 2 years after that, and then we introduced the poppin' frog, which is almost surpassed in sales as a 65. It's an incredible bait.
Did you debut that one at Oneida that year, where you're throwing
Yes.
them on the edge of the grass and you're going boom, 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 and those they were coming out and just I remember watching that.
Yeah, and it was neat because I would throw the bronzeye, in and around the grass on the main lake, and then when I got up in the river, the poppin' frog was like killing it. Because I caught a couple of smallmouth on the poppin' frog, fishing for largemouth on the poppin' frog. And then I went up to the river there, and I started catching them up there because I hadn't thrown it up there, and boy, they were just eating it. But
and there hasn't been a good one caught in that river since then, Dean.
Well, since the gobies now, the largemouth fishing is not really that good anymore. So it's changed the whole dynamic of Lake Oneida as well.
Are you guys good? You're not going to Oneida this year?
No, Oneida. We're going to the St. Lawrence again this year.
Yeah. So Oneida, I've spent a ton of time on there now. I do the Kurt Doves Pro Bass Camp. I fish 2 opens. I've spent probably 20, 30 days out there. Freaking awesome again. Like the smallmouth are getting big. They're all goby related. The largemouth are coming. Like it's top 5 on my just favorite go out. I mean, you're not going to do St. Lawrence stuff on Oneida, but you can consistently know you're going to be between 19 and 22 out there. It's so much fun. And it's amazing how quickly they've changed from there were some herring in there, from herring and the bait fish and the perch to goby eaters like that. And then their whole body shape since the time I was covering you guys where they were, you had Howell out there with the Popar and all those guys and, 13, 14 pounds was good on smallmouth. They're like pit bulls now.
Yep. It's amazing what the gobies do and how it changes the dynamic of a lake like that. And, the bass are singing too. Of course, we were up there for the first one when I won that one. And the next one was, I was leading it. And then we had our final round there at Lake Onondaga, which was just, 10 miles from there, our final round. But even then I led there and all of it was frogging and flipping the fighting frog and, and frogging. And so it was really, I utilized the whole lake. And I wouldn't even go to certain sections because I knew I had to save it, for 4 days. It's very difficult. Look, if there were 3-day events, I would probably have 4 or 5 more career wins attached to my name. But the 4th day is like the wild card because it's very, very hard to have the same conditions where they're biting a frog for 4 straight days, unless you're on a body of water, where you're just like La Crosse, for instance. We'll just use that as an example. I mean, you could frog for 4 days and catch them. You can't do that like on the Arkansas River, or Mississippi. I mean, just all these different places where I've caught them at. I'll top out on the 3rd day, and then the weather will change or something will happen. The key is to get it on the front side to where there's no frog bite going on in practice, and then it evolves into a frog bite, and that's where it'll carry you into, like the Smith Lake event where I won. They wouldn't touch a frog; it was cold, and then it got warmer and warmer, and then they just ate it, man. And that's the cool thing about just being current and rolling with it, and always trying to see, because they're going to let you know in the first 10 minutes whether they like the bait or not, whether they're going to get it. So you don't have to spend a whole lot of time, which I've learned to kind of time myself, on certain stretches in certain areas. I mean, they're gonna let you know if they want it or not.
We're going to take our first break. When we come back, more with Dean Rojas, January 3rd, 2024 on a Wednesday. A lot of good info in that first segment. A little old school, a little new school, a little education, a little solar lunar, all sorts of good stuff in that. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
legendary brand. Tower on Strike King.
All right, guys, if you're a construction worker, soccer dad, soccer mom, you want to be outdoors, you've seen the Reaper. This right here is the zip-up full Reaper, but it's windproof, folks, windproof. And it actually has the mast built in. It's behind me. I mean, if you can look good, feel good, and stay warm, you better check it out. It's the zip-up Reaper. That's right, windproof.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Welcome back, BTL, on a Wednesday, talking with the one and only Dean Rojas. You mentioned Austin a little bit. He's like kind of back in your neck of the woods now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back here in Lake Havasu now, and he's finishing up. He was at Simpson University the last 3 years, and he got all his lower division done, and now he's focusing on, what he's going to be doing as accountant, the CPA type of stuff. So he loves the numbers, and he's working down at Bass Tackle Master, which is like one of the top 5 tackle stores in the country. It is one of the best, and I've been in all of them, and it's cool because it's such a neat place, and they've got all stuff that from Japan that you can't find anywhere else. I mean, it's
Bass
there.
Tackle Master.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You've been there, Matt.
Matt, that's the one that's got all the mounts of the 4-pound shell cracker.
Red ear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
no, that is a crazy.
They're 5 pounds. They're 5-pounders. 5s.
That is a crazy, crazy store. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Like, you do not want to go into that if you value like financial security.
So, but Dave Rush, when he comes out here. So, like, he goes to the back because the back corner is all, like, secondary tackle. People come and they sell their tackle and stuff. Dude, I can't tell you how many wiggleworts I found back there because nobody throws them out here, okay? It's not – I mean, it's a niche thing, but you're like, dude, that's a $40 crankbait. And it's like $3, and because it was in somebody's tackle box that, that got passed down and then eventually found its way to – because people just go there and they sell their tackle or get rid of it. And we have a lot of retirees here. So, a lot of times, if the guy passes or whatever, they'll just bring their stuff down to the store and then, John will buy it from them and then they'll put it up there. But you could buy, I bought a lot of stuff down there, a lot of hand poured stuff, custom stuff that you never see. And it's wild. And Dave he just spends hours down there. He goes, I'm going down to the store. I said, all right. So but it's a cool little deal. It's got everything that you can think of. All the latest gear that you would find at any small, tackle store throughout the country that has the right stuff for that particular lake. It's just amazing. You can find whatever you want there. It's awesome.
And Austin works there then.
He works there. He works there 5 days a week right now. And of course he has, whenever he has that's the beauty of it. Cause whenever there's a tournament, he gets off, he gets time off just like that. I mean, but he'll work the extra days what he needs to. But it's good because it's teaching him, business sense, accounting, all the stuff that goes on with that. And for him, it's really helping him, get to where he's at for his future, where he's at. So that picture right there, that's the Spro Frog tournament. here in Arizona on Lake Havasu, because we have one every year. We average about 110 boats, which is a lot for this lake. But it's not like Guntersville where they get 300 and so forth. But it's a fun event. Spro supports it. They do a great job with that. When I'm in town, I always like to MC it because these are the people I see all the time at the local tournaments and so forth, and it adds a nice little twist to the event. So I do a lot of speaking engagements and talking and visiting with the people. So it's always good. Spros is a great company. I've been with them for almost 20 years now, and they're just fabulous people. And they just want to build baits that catch fish, man. It's awesome.
And then Cam is still flying the Friendly Skies.
Yeah, my oldest, he's a pilot right now. He's flying cargo right now for UPS and FedEx, and he's got about 1,800 hours right now. So he's got one more rating, and then he's going to go up to the airlines or fly cargo. He hasn't decided yet. I told him he needs to get on he needs to apply for Hawaiian Airlines because he's single right now. I go, dude, they'll fly anywhere. They'll go to Tahiti. They'll go to Europe. Wow. They'll go to Australia. New Zealand. Look, dude, that's who you want to fly for. You can see the whole world and get paid for it. So he's like, oh, Dad, I like the sound of that. So he's got to get one more rating before he can go after them. But he's excited. He thinks he can get it because they're short on pilots right now. So he's looking at it. He'll be fine. He's a great little kid. He's my son. But
he's a grown adult, man.
I know.
But it's he's not a great little kid. He's like a grown adult with a career. I know.
But Matt, you don't have kids. Matt,
I know. Jeffrey still thinks of me like I'm an 18-year-old intern.
Yeah, because you are.
20 years later.
Yeah. So all those years we traveled together. So a little backstory for you don't know, for the new viewers here. So Panger used to cover all the stuff for Jeffries in the Bass Zone. And so him and Harold Allen and Mark Jeffries the legend would do the shows. And then Mark was doing all the content. Matt was doing the content for that as well. So we spent a lot of time together. And if many of you know about the Gander, I want to sponsor with Gander Mountain for 9 years. We did the Gander on tour. And that was the first time that was ever done. We didn't know what we were doing, but Matt did all the filming for that and the editing on his computer every night.
It was daily tournament coverage, before that existed.
Yes. And we put it on YouTube, but nobody would watch it because nobody knew anything about it. And so it was the early stages of all that. And, it was cool. And I look back at those sometimes and look at those events and so forth, and the places we stayed and the people we met. You remember that GP8 guy down in Florida?
Paul.
That guy.
I just told that story. I just told that story on a different. Someone was like, "What's the craziest sponsor deal you've ever heard of?" And I mentioned what I've never actually heard from you. I don't even know how to attack this one, Dino. This was the wildest thing I'd ever seen. So any statute of limitation is passed. I would love to know what the hell happened with that deal.
So it's a common theme in professional bass fishing, especially at our level. You get a lot of people that with money or they say they have a lot of money, and they love bass fishing and they want to get involved. And so whenever you do that, you're looking at them. They're like, I'm gonna get Kevin Van Dam. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get Ski. I'm gonna get Ike, and whatever. He's gonna go through the whole gamut of who they're gonna get and all the money. And I know what those guys make. And I'm like, dude, you better have a big checkbook, on all of that stuff. He's like, no, we got it. This is that. So that's how this whole water thing came to be. And when they come to you and they start talking about it, and they're like, okay. And then when it comes down to the money aspect, there's always an excuse, or there's always something that comes up. So, and Matt, you were still with me. We were doing the Gander stuff down there in Florida, down there at Okeechobee.
It was weird.
Yeah, he flies down there, and then he calls me and he goes, "Hey man, I lost my wallet. I'm trying to get to you so we can talk and and he was just a mess, and he's checking into the hotel and he doesn't have any. It was just a lot of mess around there. I remember clutter.
It was I dropped him off, so he ended up eating. Remember, we ate dinner with that elderly couple who was staying in the trailer next to us.
Yes. So
and he was talking about what life was like as a professional angler, and he was the GPA water representative. We thought. Do you remember look at each other and you're like, wait a second, this guy doesn't doesn't fish, and he was pretending to be an Elite Series pro at dinner with the neighbors in front of you.
Yes, and telling me how it is and how it's supposed to be, and all the stuff that he has to go through for all that. And that's why the water was such a critical component, and it's something that because we drink a lot of it, and how important it is to have it on the boat and in everyday life for anybody who's in fitness or what we do on the water. So he was trying to tie all that in, and the neighbors, these are like 65-year-old people. They have no idea what the hell he's talking about. Oh, 80. Okay. I was trying to be nice, man. but I remember he bought all the food and that night, and we just listened to it all. And I don't know, he had that weird look in his eye. You remember that, where he just says, the way his eyebrows were and all that stuff, it just didn't look right. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So anyways, that all departed. So
I had to drop him off at the hotel.
Yeah.
You remember that? So I drop him off at the hotel that night because I was doing chauffeur duties, and he did like you had borrowed him money. And this was like the first day. This was before you realized the same thing had happened to Edwin, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a number? Was it you, Edwin, Alton,
Tim Horton?
Tim Horton. Yeah. I don't think Edwin will talk about it to this day. That really ticked him off, what happened with that whole deal. But so I drop him off at the hotel in Florida, and he goes in the front door, and I go get a drink or something at the gas station that's like right next door to it. And as I'm leaving to go back to the house, he went in the front door. He didn't have a room at that place. I don't know where he stayed. He went in the front door. He went out the side door and didn't know. He thought I was gone, and he had waited till he thought I was gone to make it think like he had a room there. And then he booked it into the woods. Like I watched him just like walk behind into the Florida scrub.
Wow.
And then, and then like it never came about. Like the whole deal, like it turns out he had gone to like, I think Edwin's spot or something, and been like, hey man, my wallet got stolen on the plane. So we were telling about how this dude, Paul, had his wallet stolen. And it was like, wait a second, that happened to me when he came and visited me, and I ended up covering him. And then didn't you guys end up contacting like the company, and they were like, yeah, we've never heard of this guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he was just pushing it off, on the company itself that had nothing to do with him. And just one of those guys, and you see a lot of it. And it's not only in our industry, it's probably in a lot of other industries as well, foundations and people. And they're almost like scammers in a way. I mean, they lie, and they try to.
I don't know what his end game was, though, just to be close to pro fishing.
Yeah. And that a lot of it is, it's a lot that they just love it so much, and they love being around, if you will, the stars of the sport, and being around to where they can talk to them. It's something that, hey, don't you still have one of those bottles?
Yes, I need to find it. I have an unopened bottle.
You need to put it on the shelf back there, Matt. You need to put it on the shelf back 100%. But anyways, just and that's like one of like a dozen of guys that have come to me, and not only me, but all of the top tier guys, about, hey, we want to do this, we got this, and what do you need, and it's just all BS. It's just junk, garbage, and you waste my time, and because and there are times where it ends up working out, but for the most part it doesn't. It's just it's a hard industry, and you have to learn and know that, and be able to pick it out, and just end it at that end. So, but he always had some excuse and some reason, but
he got a couple of free cases of water, which I think we figured out he was buying the water like on his own dime and then shipping it to you guys. Like he wasn't even getting it from. It'd be like getting a Mountain Dew sponsorship, and then you go to Costco or Sam's Club and buy cases of Mountain Dew and then ship it to the guys. It was absolutely crazy. He was a super nice guy. I think was he French Canadian or something?
Yeah, that would explain quite a bit. They're a little. I've spent some time up there in Quebec. It's they're a little different up there, and
Oh yeah, racing.
Just when we went to with Gander Mountain, I did a lot of stuff up there because they're in Minnesota. Spent a lot of time in Canada as well up there. So look, it's cool what we do. Fishing for a living and so forth, and a lot of people just like to touch it and be around it and so forth. And I love it too, because that's something I've always wanted to do since I was 13 years old. So for me, I get it, I understand it, and stuff. So it's just part of it, and just people.
I will say that you've always kind of been not kind of you have been cutting edge when it comes to sponsorships and look and image.
Yeah.
And this past year, I'll throw this up. You iced out the Blazer with the white Suzuki poles and the seats and the bling on the front half, and then the white motor. Just talk a little bit about how that came about to go. I mean, would you call it iced out?
No, I would call it more marketing and attention on that end. Yes, it is white. It's different. We've never had a white engine that I'm aware of on any professional tour. Meaning the elites and the Bass Pro Tour. To where it's that. Secondly, Suzuki's making a huge move right now to get in the market. What better way on their brand new 250 SS to get the attention by running a white motor? It sticks out. People see it. And the boat's just sitting right here. It's unwrapped. It's a beautiful boat. And I'm going to be ready to sell it here probably in about 2 months or so. I'll be ready to unload that one. So if anybody's interested, it's there. I haven't put it out there yet, but Austin uses it now. But my new boat, so you see that right there, Matt, that color? My new boat is the complete opposite of that.
Oh, did you go
all black?
Really?
So yeah, so I was in Panama City 2 weeks ago, right before Christmas. I was down there for a week, and Suzuki, we shot a bunch of video with my new Blazer. It's all blacked out, matte finish, completely different from what I've been doing. But we filmed a lot of TV commercials down there, a lot of photo shoot, a lot of video, still photography, and you'll be seeing all the Suzuki commercials. You'll see me in it driving the boat. It was kind of neat because I was the only bass boat guy there. And they had, like a Freeman that had quad 350 Suzukis and every kind of boat you could imagine, that was inshore, offshore, a little bit of lake stuff in there, but they were all matted out, blacked out, Suzuki, bad, the bone. I mean, they look sweet. Wait till you guys see the commercials. They're going to make the announcement and launch it at the Miami Boat Show in February. So you'll see all that. You'll see all the video. But look, I've always been like a red guy and the blue when I was with that, and then now it's just like everything's gonna be black.
You don't have accent. You don't have red accents.
I do a little bit.
Okay.
Not on the boat though. Not on the boat. In my jersey, you'll see little red accents on my jersey, but on the boat, no, it's just
black carpet, everything.
No, it'll be gray. It's more. It's a whole stealth line. It's basically what they're calling it, and so Suzuki's a great, they're a wonderful company, great people, and and that's what you have to do in this industry. That's how I've done it, is working really closely with the brands. It doesn't matter if it's Spro, doesn't matter if it's Suzuki or Blazer, or Gamakatsu, Epic. I mean, I can go all the way. Especially Power Pole, same thing. I mean, all those brands, I have a really tight relationship with, and to where I bounce a lot of ideas off of them on what we need to do, how to promote it, where to go here, do this, do that. And so it's a big pie, if you will. Okay. So there's a big portion of that pie that comes down to, working with the brands and making sure they succeed and promoting them in a way that they want to be promoted at, to where it gets the most attention for them, obviously, because they're trying to sell product. So with that being done, and then, with me designing baits for Big Bite and for, Spro, and then the Suzuki launch, all this stuff, I had a lot to do with a lot of their marketing and stuff, just because I've seen how all that comes together. And it's just a product of being around, brands my whole career and watching lots of them fail, some of them, make it, and the ones that are already established, and how to rebrand and how to, get the attention that they're wanting. And so, I work very closely with all those big brands. A lot of them I've been with for a long time. Spro 20 years. Power Pole, I was the first one to run one in 2002. We're going way back on all this stuff. And these are just relationships that I have with these brands, and help them every year, to grow and produce products that are going to be something that the average angler is going to use and have a positive experience out on the water. And that's what we want. We want people to have fun on the water and to catch a lot of fish and to have a positive experience, because that way they buy more tackle, they buy more boats, they buy more engines. So it's a pie that you need, and it's a wheel that you have to keep working at it to be successful. So, and that's where I think, I'm pretty good at maybe 60-40. My promotional side is really good. Fishing, I'm good as well. I mean, but I understood very early that it's about the sponsorship. I didn't grow up with rich parents, so I had to work for everything. So, but I understood the marketing of working with the brands, and and when you did succeed, being with the right companies, because they're the ones that are going to fund you, to get to this. And so I'm starting my 26th year of professional bass fishing, and it's just one of those things where you have to do it at that level, and play on both sides, especially now with all the media outlets. So,
yeah, I mean, dude, you're still old school, man. Like, you are. You're one of the you're one of the remaining old school guys who are talking about, 90% of the people coming in, it's the YouTube channel, it's the social media followings, it's about content. And what you just described is a very traditional, old school way, relationships, the marketing, working with the brands, providing not only content, but material, bait design, lure design, working with everyone behind the scenes, putting in the legwork, going and visiting. It's a whole different animal than what we're seeing with the 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old guys that are coming on and just saying, hey, I'm using this in my YouTube videos. I've got 100,000 followers on social media. This is a very old school hard work mentality that I think a lot of the younger anglers who plan on doing this for 25 to 30 years could take some cues from and combine not only the new school, but that old school hard work approach that you just described.
Yeah, because it's crucial. It's important for longevity in the sport. And for the basis of a foundation for a career. Look, there are anglers that are exceptional anglers, but it's very difficult to put two sentences together. And then you have certain anglers that are really good at, the social media side and the YouTube stuff and all that stuff, and they can't catch a bass. So there's a huge, swing when it comes to, being able to catch them and be able to promote in a correct way. So all I'm saying is just about balance, basically. Okay, I'm not saying you need to go one way or the other, but you have to ask yourself as an angler, where do you see yourself in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years? Where do you want to be at? And then these young kids, and look, I was young too. I still think I'm freaking 25 years old going on the tour for the first year. I still do. I still like every day I think about it. I got to get my stuff ready. I got to get ready. And have everything ready to go. And for me, it's just a part of my life. And so, but on the backside of it, like I spend a lot of time promoting a lot of stuff, video shoots, photo shoots, for my channels, all that stuff. You have to stay on top of it. And has it changed? Absolutely. I mean, and so, but you have to evolve with that. But a lot of the times, the sport's getting very, very expensive, compared to when I first got into it. I mean, it was expensive back then, but not like it is now. And so like I feel like sometimes it's shrinking, the field or the anglers that can get into it. But also the ones that are in it, like the young guys you talk about, hey, they're fresh out of either college or high school. And so they grew up doing with all this technology, and all the stuff that's forward facing stuff. And then, how to catch them and for different species and for spotted bass, smallmouth, largemouth, all that stuff. So there's just a huge amount of information out there, and these guys, these young kids, they get it, they understand it, and, and be able to do all that stuff. So it's a lot, but, they're really good at that. But see, Matt, it all boils down to like product development as well. Okay. So you have to be involved in that. I mean, there has to be, and then how are you going to promote it? That's the key. You could have the best bait in the world, but if you have Billy Bob's Baits over here, and it's a great bait, I mean, how are they going to get you to the distribution and to where, it can be successful? It can't. It's the same thing with the Sumo Frog to Spro. So you weigh them, Spro is here and Sumo's down here. I mean, they're just, you have to go to a brand that can help you get the thing launched and get to where you need to be at. And so that's why you see, the big top tier pros are always on those big companies, because when they come out with something, they can distribute all across the whole country. But a lot of people don't want to talk about their baits, so they're quiet about it. They want to keep them secret. Hence, then their value.
Is that even still a thing? Are there still guys that are keeping stuff secret, or with 40 days of live coverage every year and 7 million podcasts out there? I mean, is there any way to possibly keep something secret in 2024?
Yeah, and I'll just give you an example of it. We'll just use the team series on the MLF side. There was guys who just wouldn't talk. They didn't want to give up the secrets of what.
Oh, on your team?
No, not on my, but other teams.
Oh, so you watch it and they'll be like, some guy will be catching him, but he doesn't want to actually give it to the secret because then he knows a guy on his team is going to use it against him on the Bass Pro Tour next year, and it could cost him a win. So then he's second. Okay, I'm interested in that. I'll be interested in that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it is. It's, at this level, at my level, every small advantage you can get is critical. I mean, you have to have that. You have to have that bait, that technique or something, or little, your cadence, whatever it might be, something that's going to generate strikes. And
I told you what the next big thing is.
Yeah, I know.
It's coming.
I know. I know. I saw it already. I saw
forward-facing sonar breaks.
So it's constantly evolving, as you say, and so it's headed that way.
They're guessing who it was. Thrift is the number one guess on who refused to give up the goods.
They probably watched the show already, so they probably.
He's like, I don't know, man. I'm just smoking a cigarette and got a lucky bite. You were mentioning
it happens.
Yeah,
it's that way. So it's and that's okay. And I learned early on, like even with the frog and stuff, I could have kept it secret, but I couldn't because I had cameras on me all the time, and so I just embraced it all. And I try to keep it like 2 years. I try to keep it quiet, and I was like, you know what? Hell no, we're gonna let everybody know about this because I want to sell a bunch of them. So let everybody.
The one other I did have heard people mention this, and I don't know whether it's true or not. So we got the GP8 out of the way. I want to squelch or confirm this rumor. So, I mean, you've done interviews, you've talked on BTL about how you used to sling peanuts at Jack Murphy Stadium, as a side gig in your tournament fishing. But is there any truth to the rumor that you would get just enough money to get to Vegas and have like $100 and there'd be a tournament and you'd have your boat in the parking lot of the casino and you didn't have enough to fish the tournament, but you'd roll in and you'd go to the craps table, and as soon as you made enough to fish the tournament, you were out of there, you'd go fish the tournament, you'd win, and then you'd have a little bit left over. Like, was your early career funded on Vegas craps tables, Dino?
I wouldn't go that far to say that, but there's always one, because I was living in California at the time, so I'd always have to, when I was there competing, I would never be on the table, playing because my focus was fishing.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of big events there. The U.S. Open was there, the Wombass, and then we'd have Wombass events there as well. But even when I'd go practice and stuff, and I'd take my wife with me at the time, Renee, she's still here, but anyways, we'd go and we didn't have any money, hardly anything, and so we would just go, and I would always stop on the way out, and and at that time, okay, like $100 was a lot.
Yeah.
Then, okay. I mean, that was a bunch. So, but I would spend, probably $300 because the rooms were like $30 a night, $40 a night at the hotel, and then you have fuel. You're looking at about $100 a day, $150 a day, where now it's like $500 a day on tour. And so like it's $150. So I would always stop, and just like, I told her, I said, look, just let me go in here. Let me, go get on the craps table. But it's not like just going to a craps table and like, put your money out there on the chips. You gotta feel the mood there. Okay. And a lot of you who've watched Las Vegas and have been to Vegas, you see all the excitement that happens in and around the craps table. There's a lot of heartache that happens there as well. But for the most part, you have to read it. And the times that I've been on it where I've made the money, and usually I do it enough just to get out of there. But the best guys who throw the dice are usually people that have never thrown it before in their life. They have no idea what the hell they're doing. They're just throwing them down the table and it's bouncing, and it'll hit 7 on the pass line when it's coming out, but they never hit 7 when there's a number that's on a 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever the number is that, on that. So, and they'll just roll for like a half an hour. And there are times where you just roll up to a table and it's just crapping out, 7, 7, 7, 7. And so the table never gets any momentum, no traction. So sometimes I just sit there, for an hour and just wait and wait and wait. And you kind of I always look at the chips, see what everybody's got on the table or on their little cubby there to see, what they're making. And then I'd be like, okay. And you can feel it. You feel it because it's like fishing. It's like you're going to get a bite. It's like one of those things where you just feel it in here, and it's, when you do it so much, it comes quicker. But it's like I knew at that time, I'm like, okay, it's time. So, they'd roll and I'd put my money out there and boom, I'd make, $30 on that roll. Boom, I hit another one, $50 on that roll. And then it would just roll. And then once I had the money I had on the table, I would give that to my wife and I'm like, okay, just here's the money. We're good to go. Everything else is gravy from here on out. So I would make, sometimes a couple $100, $400, $500 at the table on the way back out, and it would pay for my fishing.
Okay. So there's some elements of truth to that story.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, we used to, dude, there's so many ways that we would try to save money and make money to pay for our trips, to the river and stuff like that. I mean, we did everything we could, to survive, and chase this crazy dream of being a professional angler, and so I understand the value of $1. I still do today. And I try to instill that in my boys. I do instill it in my boys.
Yeah. One's an accountant major.
Yeah. Make sure that, all that stuff, because it matters. Because, the worst thing you can do is have your kids being in debt and being in trouble when they're just starting out. So, we have a system where they pay their bills and they're doing good. So, and I guess that's our job as being parents. You don't have any kids yet. Maybe one day you will. But when you become a parent, you're always worrying about them, always thinking about them and thinking about how, they're going to navigate through life, as things are changing and evolving to when we grew up, and all the stuff that they have to do. So, as parents, that's what we do, is try to teach them things and stay away from the pitfalls, and they're going to fall into them. And sometimes it's good when they do, because they learn, what not to do. That's how we all learn, by failure and stuff like that. So, and that's okay. You got to leave it there and move on. So, and that's what I've done my whole life and failed a lot. And, thousands and thousands of people told me to never make a professional angler. Yeah. Well, that's what drives me. That's what motivates me. That's why I don't want to stop fishing. I don't want to stop competing. Sometimes it's a grind. Heck yeah, it's a grind, and I spend a lot of time away from home, but damn it, I love it, dude. I love going up against the best. I do. I mean, like even with Kevin retiring, I'm like, because he was always my kingpin. I mean, he was the guy that motivated me to want to whoop him, bad. So like, well, now he's gone now. I mean, Jacob's great and all those guys, they catch him, but it ain't like a Kevin Van Dam powerhouse. I mean, and I guess it's just because of my era growing up with him, of that. But, the showmanship that he had, the professionalism that he had, his candor, his jokiness, his love, his passion, all that stuff, just as a person, it's just so, it's just iconic, and, it's just cool. I got to spend my whole career battling against him. Oh, God.
And then every once in a while, you'll go out and you'll catch 45 pounds in one day.
Yeah, 45 too.
That's coming up what's that, like 2 weeks away?
January 17th.
Don't you always do a video every single?
Yeah, last year I was actually down there at Toho.
Yeah, and we had a bad signal.
Yeah, so
but we were live for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I like to go down there every now and again. It's all of it's changed, the way it looks now compared to what it did back then. But it's just this last week we were going through some stuff and I saw all the pictures and everything from that day. And like, Cameron was, 1.5 and seeing Pee Wee and Fish Fishburne on the stage up there and Dewey Kendrick, all these guys, and some of these guys are not even here around, Pooley Dawson. I mean, all the great people at Bass, that back then, it was just neat and just, and you realize time never stops. It just moves on and to embrace it and to enjoy every moment of it. And I get to do that. What's cool is I get to fish with my son, all the time now. And he is a hammer, man. I mean,
what's he good at? What's his jam? Like pick one. Like, dude. I mean, you're obviously the frog guy, but pick what is Austin? Like if you had to pick Austin's best, like, oh yeah, this is in his wheelhouse. Where are we going?
He loves stone swim baits.
Really?
Yes, he does. He loves the crank. I mean, it's like me, but better in a way. I mean, because he's so young, and it took me like decades to get to where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like bam, 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 and picks up so fast. And you know, he's got the bite, and he's got the passion, and he just wants to fish. And but he's good at all of it. I mean, he skips a frog as good, if not better, than I do.
Really?
And it's just his technique. It's just smooth and effortless, you know. And I guess when I look at myself, it looks smooth and effortless when people watch me and stuff. But I look at it, I'm like, damn, you know. And his hook sets, his body positioning, his posture, everything about it is correct. And it's about, you know, form as well, like any great athlete, you know, on how they position when they set the hook and all that stuff, fighting the fish, you know, and you know, he's really good at that stuff. The stuff he's lacking, and I'll say that because it's important to look at that as well. He's still trying to figure out how to find them as good. He's getting better and better. Mm-hmm. And his boat positioning, he's working on that right now. And I have to tell him that just, you got to think about angles. You got to think about how you want to approach this and how you don't want to blow out this. And they might be here and here or here, and think about that. And to where you're always, your boat positioning is always key on where you cast. And if you get the bite, always anticipate the bite, because at some point it's going to happen and you're going to be in a bad spot. We all are, you know, where you're going down to reach your trolling motor or hitting a button or getting something, you get a bite. You know, it's always trying to take that equation out to where when that bite comes, you are ready for it. Good hook set, you know, good everything, your mechanics, bringing the fish in, all that stuff. And those are the small details, Matt. Those are the small things, the sharp hooks. He changes treble hooks 3-4 times a day on his crankbaits, you know, and just any little nick, any little, you know, the flange or bent, he says, I'm changing it, puts a brand new one. Granted, not everybody can do that. I understand that, but you know, he's using hook sharpeners, he's using everything, and he's like, hey, Dad, look at this. So he'll do something with a bait, and I'm like, ooh, that looks good. I like that, you know. But he has that young open-mindedness, and of course, you know, working at the tackle store, they have fishing on 24/7. Oh, yeah. So he knows all the MLF stuff. He knows all the bass stuff. He knows all the techniques. So he's constantly watching that every day, and then selling the tackle. And he's in it all the time, so, and he loves it.
Over under 5 years before he's fishing against you?
I don't know. You need that want and that hunger, and it's not there yet, but it's up to him. I mean, he's got to step it up, because there are kids that are younger than him that are already on tour. Mm-hmm. And I remember Bradley Roy, when he came on, he was 19 18. Or 20, 18, mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, it happened back then, but it's probably more prevalent now. And like, you know, when he was doing the collegiate stuff, we went back to a lot of those tournaments on Dardanelle and Florida and stuff, where we'd come see him, and man, those kids are hammers, man. I mean, you could just see it. They got all of that, you know. And so that's that new crop of guys that you're seeing right now come on in, and you know, they're well versed, they're well educated in the aspect of the fishing realm of, you know, competing and stuff. So I said, look, dude, it's a tall order, and you see how my career has gone. You know, it's not always, you know, peaches and cream all the time. You know, there's some pitfalls and stuff you got to deal with. So you got to be able to weather those storms and continue, you know, marching forward. So, mm-hmm. You know, and he has to want it so bad that you'll do anything just about to get there. And that's the way I was. You know, that was my failure was not an option. I had that mm-hmm. sign in my garage. It's not an option. You will make it, you know, and you have to have that fire and that want, you know. And all great athletes, it's not only fishing. Look at football, you know, hockey, I mean, baseball. I mean, all those guys, it's whatever it takes, man. Just get there. And next thing you know, you're battling against the best. It's awesome.
I think that's a great and motivational segment to end on, Dean.
Well, it's my life. That's what I've done. It's, you know, it's all who I am. And, you know, and you have to have the eye of the tiger, man. You have to have it, because those guys will run over you. I mean, they will just cream you. And it's hard. It's really hard. It's not easy at all. And, you know, and you have to be mentally strong deep down. You got to believe in yourself and your heart that you can do it and compete against the best guys in the world.
Anything else you want to get in here?
Thank you for having me on the show. It's always good seeing you again.
I enjoyed
all those years
of
traveling. Yeah. So it's cool. It's fun. I enjoy it.
Give Jeffries a call. He'll love to hear from you.
Okay, we'll give Mark a call. Hey, have you talked to the legend at all?
I have not.
well.
He's still like flip phone, maybe available 10 minutes a day, once a week type of
There you
thing. But I did, let's see, if I can run out to the car, I do have something that you would absolutely love to see. Let me run the Gamakatsu Sunline commercial. I think I know where my keys are. I gotta show you this. I gotta
Okay.
show you
All
this.
right.
All right. I got
Okay.
what's the longest commercial? Oh, we'll run this one. I got 1 minute and 27 seconds. So hang tight. I'm going to run a commercial. Then we'll close it out with something that Jeffrey's actually gifted me yesterday. So BTL, wrapping things up right after this. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in 1 minute, 27 seconds.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ramtail craw. Great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Oh, I made that back with plenty of time left. Now Dean's gone. I hear
No,
him
I'm right
coming
here.
back.
I'm right here.
Okay.
No, I just need some water.
All right. So here, I gotta go big screen now. So I went over to Jeffrey's yesterday. It's funny you mentioned that. This is a bareback BEAR. It's got a little logo of a bear right there. Look what he
Oh my
has.
gosh.
He had two. That's
That's Mark Davis's jersey, isn't it?
No, that's Harold Allen's.
Oh wow.
Look at this. It's like a bowling jersey, white
Yeah.
thing on the back. It's got the old Strike King, Riverside Lures, the Rebel Cotton Cortel Bomber and Headden, and the Harold Allen like that. So that is going on the he has a long sleeve and a short sleeve. He kept the long sleeve, gave me the short sleeve for the new studio. Well, the studio's a year old now, but I'm always kind of adding and growing with the studio. So
Well, hey, why don't you send it down with somebody since we're gonna be at Toledo Bend at the end of the month? We can get that thing signed.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, that'll be good.
I've got a Charlie Hartley jersey signed. Now I've got the Harold Allen. And I was supposed to, remember when I was doing this studio thing, I was supposed to have the shorts.
Oh yeah,
You still know where those are?
yeah, they're right over here.
Or is that
I mean,
still
look-
is that still a
let's see.
possibility to add to the studio?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have them. I don't know I don't have a lot of that stuff left over, as you can imagine, but I did kept some of them. Like when I broke the record, my jersey, I have that one.
Yeah.
But I have the blue shorts still, and I still have the red ones as well, and the black ones. So when it was with Gander, and the other boat company and their engine company, so I had all those three as well. So I keep them just for nostalgia and like in case I ever wanted to do it again. I even thought about maybe this year, Matt. I thought about bringing them back out again. So
The
I don't know.
Suzuki shorts?
Yeah, I think you probably will see them at some point before I get whenever it's going to come up. I don't know, sometime. I got to wear them again. It's cool. I look at some of the pictures. I'm like, damn, look at that. It looks cool. So
Yeah. The high tops and the Dickies shorts. It was like a very distinct West Coast look that you had rolling.
Yeah, they were heavy, but they were durable. And of course, the jerseys we wore back then, they weren't supplemented. So everything, those heavy cotton shirts much like the one you have there. That's a little bit, that's probably a lighter material.
Like I said, you don't know whether he's going to hit the 710 split or boat flip a 3-pounder in this one.
What people don't realize is when you start adding all your patches and all the embroidery, how heavy those shirts get. And it's just amazing when you're fishing those things all day long and how hot you get in those things. And it's just, things are a lot lighter, a lot easier now than they used to be.
All right, Dino, that was some good show and tell in this segment. It's been a hot minute since we had a good show and tell show.
Yeah,
we had baits, we had apparel, we had all sorts of stuff.
Do you want to see the mount again? Does anybody want to see that up there?
Yeah, tilt it up there.
I know. That's always a hot topic.
There's the all 5 of the 45. Stay tuned. All your social medias. You'll do. Post. You'll toast with a glass of champagne every year. The record. You're kind of like, what is it? The 78 Dolphins now. Every year you're like, got through another year. No undefeated teams.
I know, and I don't even know if we'll ever go to a fishery that can house those kind of fish. Again.
I don't know. It depends. I mean, like I said, there's a lot. Yeah, well, no, you got to do 5. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I mean, it's yours now, and I don't see it breaking in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so that's them right there. That's one of my belts there. That's the one from there. I have the Santee Cooper one over here somewhere, but I'll just kind of look around. These are all, you can see some of the trophies, but those are the big ones, some of the big ones that I've gotten. You can see the most important one there is the fish and chips one. As you can see there, that was the inaugural one there. I had to show that to you, Matt.
No comment on that. That was what you leave out there. Didn't Jason catch the 9-pounder though?
Of course he
got
did.
You the W on that.
Yes, of course.
That's fine.
Of course. So, anyways,
that's very organized. A lot of great organization. My I kick off the opens in Okeechobee in for about a month. Yeah, exactly a month, and I'm shooting for 45.3. So,
well, come on, it's all there. It's all there, man.
All right, Dita.
It's neat because when you talk to those guys and they come close, they'll catch 36 pounds or 34. I mean, those are great bags, man. But
yeah, you're still 10 pounds off.
I remember when we were fishing in Elite down there at where was it at? Down in Florida, the St. Johns River.
Yeah.
And Chris Lane, he weighed that 34, 35 pounds or 36 pounds, whatever it was that day. And he's just like, that's the biggest bag I ever caught in my life, And he goes, Dean, how big was yours? I said, it was 45 too. He goes, oh, bleep, bleep, bleep. I can't even imagine catching a number 9 more pounds to that, because they were all just massive, just big ones, And so, anyways, it's cool. It makes them appreciate it because and I still today, I'm just, it's amazing. I had that day. So cool stuff.
That was 16, 17, 19, 21, 2, 23, 15, 20 something years ago?
2000.
That's got to be one of the longest standing records in bass fishing because they haven't kept that many records, first of all. But then there's been that's got to be one of the longest. I would wonder what the longest standing tournament fishing record is. It might be that one.
Yeah, well, back in the day when they would weigh 10 fish or 7 bass, that they had those records. But
yeah, but I mean,
up to date now, that's probably it.
Yeah, because everything else has changed.
Yeah, because I mean, you'll have team guys that'll weigh that kind of weight. You'll see them. Chickamauga and stuff
count.
like that.
You need 5 fish in a. I think it would have to be either MLF in a 5-fish format, which was 1 year. I would count the pro circuit into that, or the Elite Series, and I think you could throw in the Opens or the Toyotas, but that's a 5-fish 1 day 45.2. Not I would not. Okay, so I would not count a fork catch weigh release deal for the 45.2 either, because that's like a slot. I think you could get over it, but I mean, it would count, but I think there would possibly be an asterisk next to it, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it may even happen there, but they will never actually have 5 holding up in front of you. They'll just have the 1 or 2, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like the photo that you see, of the catch, which up here, but of the 5 together, that's the juice. That is like all of it. And back then it was 150 boats. when we were on the Bass 150 at that time. So it's not like 80 now on the Bass, 40 we're fishing against on the Bass Pro Tour, and on the elites, the actual, however they fluctuate too, they're probably over 100 as well. So, I mean, we had a lot of people on the water, fishing. I mean, all the big names. So, but there it is right there. It's so the one I'm holding in my right hand, that's a 10-12. I'm holding 2 10s in that one. And then Pee-wee on the far right is that is a 9-pounder.
It appears as though you caught them wearing pleated jeans.
I did. Those were
Pleated
Wrangler.
jeans.
Yes. You know why? Because Wrangler was a sponsor, and those were Wrangler denim jeans.
But
Yeah,
pleated.
denim jeans.
Were they
Yeah.
flat front, or they look like they've got the pleated jeans like you do, like back when your mom made you dress up for church and you wore the khakis that had like the pleats in them, at least in mine?
No, these were just Wranglers, like outerwear at that time.
I gotcha.
Shorts. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, the Wrangler Angler.
Yeah, that's what Wrangler. So I had gotten those from them, but I still have that jersey, the hat. I think I may still have the hat. But like when you watch the TV show, you'll see me in slacks. So that's the second day. I have those slacks still, have that jersey. And then the boat itself, a friend of mine has it right now. He's using it, but eventually I'll end up having that boat back as well at some point. So I've had it, a couple times since then. But it's just cool part of history.
Yeah. All right, Dino. Thank you very much. That was a fun hour and a half.
Yeah, it's always fun. We could go on and on, but I'm sure the viewers are probably getting bored of all the stuff. But it's all good.
Do you know what your socials are for people who to follow you through the 2024 BPT season, which kicks off shortly?
Well, obviously on Facebook, it's Dean Rojas Pro Angler. You can go to deanrojas.com for my webpage on that, which we don't even use anymore, but we do. I mean, nobody does. I mean,
no, I'm
for
with
an
you
angler,
too.
It's like,
that used to be the thing.
I know, and it still is for people who just search engines and so forth on numbers and stuff, because it has all of my followers and how many I have, and my social media for Instagram. It's Dean Rojas _Rojas on that one, and then my X account or Twitter account is Dean Rojas 5 for 45.
All right, thanks, Dean. Greatly appreciated.
Appreciate you having me. Thanks everybody for watching, and Matt, keep up the good work. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. See ya. All right, that is the one and only Dean Rojas. Always good to catch up with Dean, and when you could get him rolling in the stories, man, there's a lot of history and a lot of good lessons there for current and up and coming anglers. And I mean, heck, Dean might have another 20 years left in him. He might have another 20 years left in him. That put him still younger than, I think, Rick Clunn or Larry Nixon. So lots left in the gas tank. All right. Log show today. Great show. Thanks everyone for jumping. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe on YouTube. We did a great job in 2023 of growing that YouTube channel and want to try to double that in 2024. But I think that's all we got for today. Back tomorrow, day 4 with Frank Scalish, and then a little sneak peek. I'm going to throw the logo up starting on Friday, the first edition. There it is right there. Guide Day, day 5, BTL kicks off Friday, 8:30 a.m. And I'm excited to do this one, actually record that show later today. That's all I got for today. We will see everyone tomorrow. Later.